What's up, Bulls Nation? It's the Bloody Horns podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Let's talk about Zach Lavine, man. Yesterday, it came out he's getting surgery. And the Bulls, they threw him under the bus. The way that they worded it, that he's electing to get surgery, the way Billy Donovan went into that presser and said Zach Lavine chose to get surgery, that's just throwing the dude under the bus for unnecessary reasons. He's been dealing with this dating back to November. There's quotes where he's saying his foot hasn't felt right since November. The Bulls kept presenting it as an ankle problem. Clearly, it was tied to the foot, and this is 3 months now of him probably getting cortisone injections, probably getting steroid injections, PT work, rest, whatever he was able to do, he was probably doing, and it's not getting any better. So yeah, he's getting surgery. And for those of you who think he's getting surgery as a way to stick this to the Bulls, I'm just going to assume you've never got surgery in your life before, because no matter how minor the procedure, there are still inherent risks with surgery when they're putting you under that you just don't go through unless you absolutely need to, or you're a complete psychopath. And I can tell you from experience, I've had my knees operated on, my shoulders operated on, my feet operated on. It's not fun, guys. The recovery from a foot surgery, it's a pain in the ass. And I don't care if he's a multi-million-dollar athlete who has access to all sorts of things the rest of us could never even dream about. It's still going to be a bitch for him. There's still the human element here. It's still going to be a solid 2-3 months before he's even moving back to normal. He's probably not going to be able to bear weight on it, no load bearing, no walking, going to be on crutches for a minute, not going to be able to play with his kids. Remember, this is a guy who has 2 young kids, not going to be able to play with his pets, not going to be able to hang with his wife in the same way, not going to be able to work out the way he's used to. This is an athlete we're talking about. He's used to, being able to pretty much do whatever he wants with his body. So for the next 4 to 6 months, it's going to be a pain in the ass for him. It's going to be a very, very tough recovery process. Like I said, speaking from experience, the recovery from foot surgery, it's a pain in the ass. I'm not exactly sure what foot surgery he's getting, but I can tell you anytime they are operating on you from the waist down, it's a pain in the ass to recover from. So he's not choosing to get this surgery as a way to stick it to the Bulls or to stop a trade from the Pistons or any conspiracy theories you're throwing out there. He's getting the surgery because he needs the surgery. So let's talk about how this affects the Chicago Bulls now. Now, if his trade value was at 0 before, it's at negative 100 now. Nobody's trading for him this trade deadline. Nobody's trading for him this offseason. When you think of guys his age, he's going into year 11 next year. Guys that age getting foot surgery, the track record, it's not great, guys. NBA history is not kind on guys who get foot surgery. Granted, most of those guys, they're the Yao Mings, the Bill Waltons, the bigger guys, but we're still talking about a guy going into year 11 who relies on athleticism, who looked like this year his athleticism took a little hit. He wasn't finishing at the rim the same. He wasn't beating guys off the dribble the same. So teams, they're going to be wary of that. And he's due $44 million next year. And we got that news earlier this week that the salary cap is much lower next year than teams expected. So nobody's trading for him this offseason. So that makes us pivot to DeMar DeRozan. Do the Chicago Bulls absolutely need to move DeMar DeRozan by the trade deadline? Trade deadline is 6 days away? They don't have much time. So it makes you wonder, what happens if they don't move DeMar DeRozan? I personally believe that if you don't move DeMar DeRozan or Nikola Vucevic, this trade deadline with the Zach Lavine news, that is borderline malpractice as a front office. We saw Steven Adams go for 3 second-round picks the other day to the Rockets. He's under contract for next year at a very similar number to Vooch. He had season-ending surgery this year, and it's a knee operation, and it's a risky knee operation. Nobody knows if he's really going to be ready to go next year. They're saying that right now, but as we've seen with Lonzo, you never know with these kind of procedures. So for the Rockets to take that risk, to take his contract on and give up 3 second-round picks for him, there's a market out there for Vucevic. So if the Bulls can get off the Vucevic contract, that to me is more important than moving DeMar DeRozan and making sure you don't lose him for nothing this offseason. So should they move DeMar DeRozan by Thursday? Absolutely they should. Is there going to be a market for him? That remains to be seen. Can the Bulls do what the San Antonio Spurs did a couple off seasons ago and play hardball? The Spurs could have moved him at that trade deadline. They could have traded him to whatever contender was looking for a little playoff push. They held firm. They negotiated signing trades. They shot down the Lakers offer. They shot down the Clippers offer. They negotiated hard with the Bulls. They got assets back. Can the Bulls do that? I'm not sure. I don't know if AK has that in him. I don't know if AK has the balls that Greg Popovich has. Actually, I shouldn't even word it that way. I know damn well AK doesn't have the balls that Greg Popovich has, and we saw that based on the Nikola Vucevic negotiations this past offseason. So the Chicago Bulls, man, there is a very, very real chance with this news that we start next year with DeMar, with Zach, with Vooch. It's a real chance, guys. Brace yourselves for it. I don't know what I'm going to do if 6 months from now and preparing for another season with the mid-3 back. But it's a real chance, guys. The Zach Lavine news yesterday was about the worst news the Bulls could have got. So I'll be on the Horns Over Hoops podcast a little bit later today. We're going to break down probably this Zach Lavine news, some trade deadline stuff, some all-star stuff. So give them a follow. If you're not following them already, tune into their podcast. If you're not following me on social media, it's at Horns Bloody, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, whatever you do your social media on, we're there. The Bulls are not back till Tuesday. We get a nice little break from them, so that'll be an interesting game, guys. That team presents a lot of size. Being a guy who lives in Minnesota, I can tell you I've watched a lot of Wolves. Going to be a tough matchup. We'll see what the Bulls bring for it.